It is 3 a.m. on a highway in Colorado that is empty. The world is sound asleep, and darkness has taken over. One truck driver, Bobby Walsh, stops to offer a ride to a strange person who is standing still on the side of the road. Bobby did something nice that seemed simple, but it turned out to be much more than he thought, since his passenger wasn't a person. And what he told you about heaven and hell will make you question everything you thought you knew about them. This story will make you think. Are the ideas we have about heaven and hell really true? If there is a deeper truth that has been kept from us all along, what is it? Stay with us until the end. If you're ready to hear the truth, a messenger from another world shared with a normal man. What you hear might make you see your life in a whole new way. Show your connection to the message by liking this video if the promise of a deep revelation speaks to you. This helps bring these truths to other seekers who need hope. You can commit to your own spiritual awakening journey by subscribing and pressing the bell. Join us as we explore the divine mysteries of the universe. Feel free to share this story with someone who is looking for answers. That person could be praying for you to be the messenger. Allow us to meet Bobby Walsh now. 3:30 in the morning on a Colorado highway that was completely empty. The kind of place where it's completely dark out. There was only worn-out yellow lines on the road, cracked asphalt, and the steady roar of a diesel engine. Robert Walsh, who was 58 years old, held on to the wheel of his Kenworth like he always did. In the other hand, he held a cheap whiskey bottle between his legs, which was the only real thing that was with him. The bottle was the only thing that never judged him or asked him why he changed into the person he swore he would never be. It wasn't the first time that he had trouble seeing. That was just how things worked. Getting drunk to drive, driving to forget, and forgetting just to get through another day, delivery, or night where the bitter burn of alcohol would keep them from falling asleep. The headlights of the truck cut through an empty space of just a few feet, which was exactly the same as the space inside his soul. No autos. Poor lighting. Lifeless. He and his own demons were the only ones moving freight through the void. Afterward, he noticed. Along the side of the road, there was a figure. Bobby blinked hard, but his blurry vision from drinking was all in his head. It knew it had to be a dream. It wouldn't be the first time he saw things that weren't there. Lately, the difference between reality and delusion has become more blurry, but the figure stood still and watched the road as if it were waiting for him. Bobby knew he should have driven right by. Everyone who is smart would have done it. 3rd thing in the morning, half drunk, in the middle of nowhere, with a stranger on the road. It looked like every possible red flag was waving at him to speed up. However, Bobby wasn't sensible lately. He really didn't care anymore. His life simply didn't make sense anymore. What mattered was that this was dangerous. He believed it might even be a relief. When he hit the brakes, it stopped. The truck made a noise and stopped next to the figure. His hand was still on the bottle as he looked out the window. His heart was beating in a strange way. It wasn't out of fear or interest, but out of deep exhaustion from giving up. It was automatic that he opened the door for the passenger. His mind was cloudy from being tired and drunk, so he couldn't understand what was going on. The figure got in there. Bobby tried to turn his head, but his vision was too blurry. There was only a shape or shadow in front of him, and something about it seemed off. That person's skin looked different. There were too many stars in his eyes. Or did the whiskey make that sound? Bobby laughed in a mean and meaningless way. The man murmured, "Whatever," and handed the bottle to the quiet passenger. "Welcome to hell, friend." There was no taker. Bobby put the truck back on the road, and he just sat there and watched. Miles started to add up. An hour went by, and then 2. Bobby was driving without paying much attention to the quiet person next to him, or anything else besides the crushing weight of his own existence. The alcohol fog started to lift at some point, just enough for painful waves of consciousness to come back. He pulled into a gas station that was dark and empty. Poor lighting, a rusty pump, and no signs of life. He left the building to go to the bathroom because his body was tired from carrying around so much weight that he couldn't see for so long. There was a difference when he got back to the truck. It was getting easier to focus now that I was sober. For the first time, Bobby saw his passenger when he opened the cab door. It was cold to the touch. It was not a person. It was almost see-through, and the dashboard's dim light made the skin glow a little. Big, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to hold all the light inside. The face was slightly, horrifyingly, wrong in terms of its proportions. Bobby really should have been scared. He needed to run or scream. Fear, or any other emotion for that matter, had worn off in him a long time ago. He only felt a questioning, hollow feeling. Bobby told her, "You're real. It wasn't an issue. I've finally lost it." Whatever it was, didn't have a voice. Actually, it reached out and lightly touched Bobby's shoulder. Things changed. From the inside, not the outside. It was like a door in his soul opened that he had no idea was there. He felt a deep, spiritual warmth that went through him. There was silence after that. Mental silence that is complete and flawless. His guilt was gone for the first time in 41 years. It had been beating him over and over again. The heavy weight of hating yourself went away. The constant, buzzing fear that kept him up at night was quiet. Peace was all that was left. Complete and unbreakable peace. Before Bobby knew he was crying, tears were running down his face. But not tears of sadness, tears of happiness. When Bobby heard words, it was like they were speaking right to his mind. "You've been down deep for a long time, Bobby Walsh. Are you prepared to identify the reason?" Bobby was afraid to talk. His breathing was very shallow. Nevertheless, a forgotten part of him whispered an answer deep inside. Absolutely. Bobby Walsh knew his life was about to change forever as he looked into those impossible eyes. You have to know who Bobby was to understand what came next. Not the drunk, broken man, but the man he was before everything went wrong. He grew up in a small Nebraska town as the son of a strict Protestant pastor. Sunday sermons, strict rules, and a moral code that saw every mistake as a mortal sin shaped his childhood. His mother was told she had cancer when she was 17. The doctors said she needed care all the time. But Bobby, who was young and wanted to be free, couldn't stand it. He longed for freedom and a chance to be someone other than the son of the pastor. He left, though. He took a ride, left a note on the kitchen table, and never came back. After 8 months, his mother died in a hospital bed, still looking for her son who never came back. Bobby never forgot how bad he was. That guilt spread through his soul like a cancer. He began drinking when he was 22 to help him sleep. Then, to deal with being alone. Soon, he was drinking just to shut out the voice in his head that said he was a coward and a failure, which is exactly what his dad had told him he would be if he turned away from God. Bob Walsh was a ghost at age 58. No family or friends. He lived in the cab of his truck with a bottle of whiskey and a squished-up picture of his mother that he kept in the glove box but never had the nerve to look at. The roads turned into his jail. On that particular night, Bobby was at his worst. He had a lot more to drink than usual. His mind was filled with dark memories, including the look on his mother's face, his father's judgment, and the forgiveness he never sought, that he hated himself. He didn't like the life he had made. He was so ashamed of himself for being too weak to end his own pain. He was so hopeless at the time that he saw the figure on the road. As they drove away from the gas station, the being filled the taxi. Bobby could hardly keep up with what was going on. It was too hard for him to think straight, because he was still drunk. "Where are you going?" he asked with a slurred voice. "Keep quiet." Bobby said, "Whatever," and pulled the truck back onto the highway. He tried to make sense of it for the first few minutes. A drifter. Someone whose car broke down. At night, people who were desperate came to the road. Bob knew because he was one of them. He brought the whiskey bottle up again. "Want a drink?" "Cold night." Not a response. "All right. Give me more." He drank another big sip. Miles kept adding up. The person in the passenger seat stayed completely still and quiet. Bobby began to think that he might have lost his mind. Bobby said, "Are you real? Or have I finally lost my mind?" The passenger moved for the first time, just a little tilt of the head. It didn't seem right in some way. Bobby felt a chill go down his spine. There was a brief thought. What if this thing is dangerous? He got a better hold on the wheel. He was too drunk to do anything about the knife in the glove box. He didn't really care, to be honest. It might have been a favor for this stranger to want to end it all. He said, "Sorry," but his voice was shaking. "I've had enough. I get lost sometimes." There's more silence. It was hard to breathe in the silence. "Who are you?" Bobby asked in a soft voice. "What do you want?" This time the passenger spoke up. The voice was real, but it was strange, too soft and calm. It looked like it came right into Bobby's mind. "Someone who sees what you hide. Bobby Walsh." Bob almost went off the road. His heart pounded hard. He didn't say his name. He knew for sure. How do you know my name?" Bobby asked, his voice breaking. "Who the hell are you?" Someone had to give a reason. "License to drive?" "Not at all. It was in his wallet." The voice spoke again. It was still calm, but had a seriousness to it that made him feel cold. "You don't have to be scared. I didn't come to hurt you. I came to show you." "Show me what?" Bobby spoke quietly. "The truth about where you are, Bobby." Bobby was scared. He had to make sense of things. He may have been more drunk than he thought. He might have passed out at the wheel and this was all a dream. But the voice, the presence, and the peace that he knew couldn't be real. They felt real. Terribly and impossible to be true. "Look," Bobby said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I have no idea who you are, but take the truck if you want to rob me." "I have nothing. I don't want your truck, Bobby." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to stop running." Bobby's heart stopped beating. "Running from what?" "From you. From what you have on you. From the truth of who you are and where you are." "You don't know anything about me," Bobby replied. The voice said in a soft voice, "I know more than you know. I know you dislike yourself. You drink to hide how you feel, right? If you close your eyes, I know you see your mum's face calling for you. I know that you think you're doomed." Bobby felt the words like they were hitting him hard. He couldn't say no. Everything was true. All he could say was, "How?" "Because I see it, Bobby. I also need you to see it." The passenger moved and turned its whole body toward Bobby. It was easy for Bobby to see now, even though it was dark. It's too smooth. The measurements are off. Too big and too deep eyes. And he felt seen when those eyes were on him. His soul as well as his body. Bobby hit the brakes hard, and the car skidded to a stop on the shoulder. He asked in a whisper, his knuckles white on the steering wheel, What are you?" It wasn't a thief. This wasn't a person. "Robert, you know who I am. You've known since you saw me on the road, deep down." Bobby began to laugh out loud in a high-pitched way. No, I'm crazy. My brain is dead." He closed his eyes tight. "You'll be gone when I open them. You're not real." The being was still there when he opened his eyes, though, looking at, waiting. The being said, "Touch my arm." "What?" "Pinch my arm. You need to believe this is true." Bobby reached out, but his hand was shaking. He prayed that his hand would go through nothing to show that it was all a dream. He touched it with his fingers. The feel was odd. It was cool and soft, but solid all the way through. Bob grabbed his hand back as if it were hot. "This can't be real." "But it is," the being said. "You already know it is. Even though your mind fights it, your soul knows the truth." He took a quick look at the door. He was able to run. But where? It would have hurt him already if it wanted to. Bobby asked in a broken voice, "Why me? Of all the people, why a drunk, broke trucker?" "Because you're still where you should be. Right at the very bottom. The place from which lies can no longer be told, and from which there is no way out." Bobby did not speak. There were parts of him that wanted to argue, but deep down he knew it was true. He finally asked, "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. Boy, I don't need anything from you." "Then why are you here?" When the being stopped, those big eyes filled with what looked like kindness. "Because we know something that people in your world have forgotten where I come from. We know what you mean by heaven and hell, pain and choice." When Bobby heard those words, heaven and hell, his chest got tight. Bobby said in a low voice, "My dad was a preacher. Every week he talked about hellfire. Everlasting pain for sinners. He told me that men like me, who are drunk and afraid and leave their families, go there when we die." The other person asked, "And do you believe that?" Bobby shrugged, which was a rude and broken move. "I'm not sure what I believe. But if there is a place like hell for people who deserve to suffer, I've earned my spot there." It turned its head to the side. "Bobby, describe what you feel, right now, in this moment." Robert took a weak breath. "I'm broken. Not full. Inside is rotten, not worth it. Like I'm not important." "And how long have you felt this way?" "Years, decades, since my mum passed away." "And what your father said about hell," the being said in a soft voice. "Fire, agony, torture, and unending pain. How is that different from what you just said? From how you feel every day?" The words hit Bobby like a bolt of lightning. He spoke, but nothing came out. He got it for the first time. Bobby just realized that hell is not a place, but a prison of guilt and fear inside of him. Share your strength by commenting, "I am choosing to leave hell behind." If this profound truth speaks to your spirit and you're ready to let go of your own internal judgment. Someone else might need to see this sign today because of what you said. You're saying, gentle. "I'm not saying anything yet," the being replied. "I only want you to look, to finally stop running long enough to see what was there all along." Bobby could feel tears in his eyes. "I don't know if I can do this." "You can," the thing said. "Because, Bobby Walsh, you are ready to see the truth for the first time in your life. You're ready to find out how to leave." Bobby just sat there shaking. He looked down at the whiskey bottle on the ground. It was his prison, his safe place. He then turned around and looked back at the thing. He was really worn out from running. "If you listen," Bobby said slowly, "will it change? This?" "Let's keep going," the person said, "and I will show you something about yourself that you've always known, but never had the courage to face." Bobby drove the truck again. He wasn't sure what was going to happen, but his current life was better than anything that could happen. Bobby's head tried one last time to fight back as they drove. He broke the silence by saying, "This is silly. I think I touched you, but it could have just been a tactile hallucination. All this talk about hell is just cheap psychology meant to make me feel guilty." The being asked, "Do you believe that?" I know there must be logical reasons. You might be some kind of military test subject, more advanced holograms. Do something." Bob almost yelled, "It makes more sense than aliens." His fear of the truth was growing. He suddenly said, "I need to stop," and slammed on the brakes again. He threw open the door and gasped as he stumbled out into the cold morning air. "This isn't real. I am going to wake up." But it really was cold. There was real wind. It was a real being. The person got out when the passenger door opened. It looked even less likely in the light of the stars, not tall enough or thin enough. "I can go, Bobby," the voice said over and over again. "If that's what you really want, I will leave now, and you can go back to your life." Bobby spoke up to say, "Yes." But I couldn't find the words. "But first, be honest," the being said. "Are you scared of me? Are you scared of what I might show you about yourself?" Bobby was deeply hurt by the question. He knew the answer. He wasn't scared of the alien. It was the thought of having to be honest with himself about his life. "I don't want to look," Bobby said in a broken voice. "It's going to hurt." "Yes, it is going to hurt. But the pain you feel when you look will go away soon. That pain you feel when you run will never go away. Boy, you already know that. It's been on you for 41 years. Bobby broke down and cried on the side of the road. The walls he had built for decades fell down. He cried, "I left my mother. I ran away because she was dying. What kind of person does that?" "A scared person," the being said as it knelt next to him. "A person who was hurting and didn't know how to cope. My dad was right. He told me I was weak and selfish and that I would go to hell. He was right. Bobby, look at me." When Bobby looked up, those kind eyes were wide open. "Your dad was wrong. Not about what you did. He was wrong about who you are, though. He was wrong about hell, too." "How do you know?" "Because I see you, Bobby. Not the one you dislike. I can see through all the guilt to who you really are. And there's nothing bad there. Just a man who never learned how to heal." Bobby really wanted to believe it. "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "You don't need to be strong. You only need to want to do it. Ready to stop running for good." Bobby was on his knees, and the most important decision of his life was on the line. "Okay," he finally said as he stood up, his legs shaking. "All right, I will try." They rode back in the truck. Bobby turned the engine on. "One thing, will you stop if this gets too much?" "Bob, this was never about force. It's about being ready to see yourself again." Bobby said yes and got back in his car. He wasn't running away from anything this time. He was going straight for himself. The being asked, "You still don't really believe I'm real, do you?" Bobby said, "My mind keeps looking for explanations. It's hard to accept. I get it. What you can see and touch is important to your kind. Undeniable proof is what you require. You have to be sure before we go any further. Stop the truck." Bobby did what he was told, and a new chill went down his spine. When he turned off the engine, the high desert silence rushed in. "Get out," the being told the person, "and bring your flashlight." They went a short distance away from the truck. Bob asked, "What now?" "You need proof that cannot be explained by alcohol or human technology." The being held up a hand to the sky at night. When Bobby looked up, everything fell apart for him. A light showed up. It wasn't a star or a plane. As it grew, a soft light that moved at speeds that were not possible and turned at angles that broke all the rules of physics. "What the hell?" Bobby whispered as he let go of the flashlight. The light went down and became a structure. Even though it was solid, its shape kept changing, like his eyes weren't able to fully understand it. It stopped about 50 meters above them and hung there without making a sound. Bobby fell to his knees, not out of fear, but out of pure, overwhelming awe. A calm being said, "My ship. I got in it. Without a doubt, you now know that this is real." As quietly as it seemed, the ship rose, sped up to an impossible level, and then disappeared. Bobby knelt on the hard ground and shook very hard. There was no doubt about it. It was true. Kindly, the being asked, "Do you believe me now?" With tears running down his face, Bobby could only nod. "Good," the being told him as it helped him stand. "Because what I'm about to say about your life, about heaven and hell, is also true. It's just as hard to accept." They went back to the truck. Bobby sat for a long time with a completely different view of reality. "Yes," he finally said with a steady voice. "All set. Show me." The being said, "Yes. Let's begin. Robert Walsh, what do you really think you deserve? And why?" Bobby knew what to do. "I deserve to suffer," he said in a rough voice. "I deserve all the pain. I deserve to be by myself. I deserve to go to hell." "Why?" Bobby said. "Because I left my mother," and his 40-year-old guilt crushed him. "I picked myself over her. I'm a coward." A soft voice said, "Open your eyes, Bobby. Listen up now. One thing you said is true. You're in hell. You are wrong about why, though. You're also wrong about how to get out." Bobby stayed put. "You are not in hell because of what you did," the being said. "You are in hell because of what you thought about yourself after you did it. And that difference is everything, Bobby." He pulled the truck back onto the road and said, "I don't get it. I did it. It's a fact. Yes, you chose when you were 17. A choice for oneself. That's a fact. However, one action doesn't define who you are. The story you tell yourself about what you did is what holds you back. So I should just forget it? No. I want to know if all this guilt and self-hatred has brought your mother back in 41 years. Has it helped anyone? No, of course not. 41 years of pain, and nothing's changed. But you think you deserve to be hurt. Who told you that? Father. The church. Those who sin must pay. Then let me tell you something about the Creator that your church never understood, he said. The thing you call God is not a judge on a throne ready to punish you. God is pure love, abundance for all, acceptance without question. But the Bible talks about judgment, about hell. The being said, the Bible was written and interpreted by people. And people project their own worries and need to be in charge onto the divine. They made a God that looked like them. You were never punished by God, Bobby. You're the one being mean to yourself. But I did something terrible. Yes, you did. It hurt too. But that doesn't change how much God loves you. That love doesn't depend on anything. Having it is not something you get or lose by being good. It stays the same and never ends. Then why do I feel so split up. So far from God? The being said softly, because you chose to separate yourself. You are turning away from that love every time you hate yourself, feel guilty about things you do, or drink to relax. It hasn't left you because you've hidden from it. Bobby stopped the truck because he couldn't drive while he thought about this. Moments of anger, hatred, judgment, fear, and guilt have a low frequency. They make you feel bad. They keep you from getting to the source. And when you feel those things all the time, you're living in hell. Exactly, Bobby whispered, starting to get it. Hell is not a place. It's a separation from God's love, an internal state. And it's been picked. But how do I stop feeling guilty? That is the important thing. It doesn't stop. You make it different. Bobby, being guilty does not constitute divine punishment. It means something. This is a sign that you broke your own rules. You cared about family, but you broke that value. You felt guilty because this wasn't in line with who you want to be. Bobby said yes, that made sense. It was meant to teach you something and change what you do. But you made guilt into who you are instead. You changed your words from, "I did something wrong," to "I am something wrong." Can you tell the difference? So, I'm not a bad person. You did something bad when you were scared, young, and didn't have the tools to deal with things. That makes you a person, Bobby. Not a scary thing. Bobby felt like something broke open inside him. But my father said, "Your father was wrong," the other being said softly. He was stuck in the same beliefs that held him back. He thought that God punished people because that's what he was taught. He gave you that fear. So heaven and hell, they're real, John. But they are not places to go in the future. They are states of being in the present. What you think and feel every moment makes your heaven or hell different. Bobby said, "You've talked about shadows before. What are they?" "Oh yes, we see shadows. The most important lesson is this one. The shadows are the parts of yourself that you don't want to show. The parts that you think are bad, wrong, or not worth it. They have more power over you the more you run away from them." "My guilt," Bobby said in a low voice. "Yes, that. And there is one shadow in particular that is the cause of all your pain. The shadow of judging yourself. The teen boy who ran away. Bob, you hate him. You have kept him frozen in that moment, guilty forever." Now the tears were pouring out freely. "He deserved it," the being said. "No," in a firm voice. "He was a scared kid. And you will stay in the hell you made until you forgive that boy and accept that shadow with kindness." "How?" Bobby asked in a desperate tone. "How do I forgive that?" "Let me show you. First, though, know this. Heaven is not a reward. In this state, you are one with divine love. You don't get to that state by being perfect. You get there by accepting what you are, acceptance of oneself. When you finally choose to love yourself over hate yourself, you go from hell to heaven. Here? Now? Bobby spoke quietly. Yes, you could always go to heaven. Pick it out. When Bobby looked at the being, he let himself believe that forgiveness was possible for the first time in 41 years. "Show me how," he begged. "Show me how to get out." The sun was just getting close to the horizon. There was a strange new lightness in Bobby's chest as he drove. "I will show you how your life really works," the being said. "You have heard that thoughts create reality?" "Yeah," Jack replied. "I always thought it was nonsense." "It is an important truth. There is a frequency for every thought you have. Love, gratitude, and happiness are all high frequencies. They help you connect with God. It is like living in heaven when you are in these frequencies. Thoughts of hate, fear, and guilt are low frequencies, the being said. They separate you. You are living in hell when you are in them. Not in a figurative way, Bobby. To the point. The frequency at which you vibrate determines your internal state. That means I choose hell when I hate myself, moment by moment. Yes. And God, who made the universe, doesn't judge you. It just raises your vibration and gives you more of what you want. You have been asking for punishment in your mind for 41 years. Show me I am unworthy, is what every thought that makes you hate yourself says. And as you wish is always the answer from the universe. Bobby felt a cool wind. It was real. How do I change decades of programming? By making a conscious choice. Also by facing your shadows. I'll show you. Those shadows are not bad guys. Keys are those. Your guilt shows what you believe in. Your anger shows you what you can and can't do. Fear shows you where you need to improve. Bobby, darkness is not the lack of light. Unrecognized light is present. If you're brave enough to look, every shadow hides a gift. It looked at him. I will now lead you. It will hurt, but it will set you free. Are you all set? Yes. Turn off your eyes. Not your eyes in real life. Drive on, but pay attention to what's going on inside you. He did what he was told. Now, the being said softly, think of that 17-year-old boy, Robert, who slipped away. Could you see him? Bobby had to push through when there was resistance. And then he saw him, a skinny kid who was scared to death. His eyes were filled with fear. I see him, Bobby said in a low voice. All right. Without judgment, look at him now. See him for the first time in real life. What do you see? Bobby looked, and what he saw was a child who couldn't find his way. Robert sobbed. He's scared. He's so scared. Yes. Robert, what did that scared boy need at that time? The tears flowed easily. Someone had to tell him it was okay. That being scared wasn't a bad thing, that he was just a person. And who can give that to him now? I can, Bobby said in a low voice. Then give it. Bob, please forgive that boy. Accept that shadow. Tell him you get it. Bobby's soul felt like it popped open. He talked to himself when he was 17. That person was someone he had hated for 40 years. Bobby said, I forgive you, but the words were hard for him to say. You were scared. You were very young. I get it now. I no longer dislike you. I love you. Right after he said it, he felt a huge change, a feeling of lightness. The crushing weight of guilt he had been carrying around was suddenly a lot lighter. Picking kindness over hate for yourself is the most powerful moment. Affirm this truth by commenting, I embrace my shadows with love. If you believe in the divine power of forgiving our past selves to heal our present. Your words add to the healing energy in this group and honor your own path. He gasped and asked, What was that? You just healed a shadow, the being said, its voice tinged with a smile. You picked love over hate. You transmuted darkness into light. Robert felt peace, which he hadn't had in decades. A real look at it. He knew, but there's still more pain. Yes, I see more shadows on you. You now know it's possible, though. You can rise from the hell you created one step at a time. Your frequency rises every time you heal. It brings you closer to God. You get out of hell and into heaven. No, Bobby, not after you die. Now. You asserted that thoughts create reality. How does it work? Your thoughts make you feel things. Your frequency is set by your emotions. Your frequency determines what you bring into your life, including how you see things, what opportunities you see, and what you do. If you change the way you think, you change your frequency. If you change your frequency, you can change how life feels to you. You could have chosen differently all along, he said. Yes. You didn't know how, though. You didn't learn from anyone. You learned fear in church, not love. You learned guilt from your dad, not how to heal. But now, you know. And having knowledge means being responsible. Every thought from now on is a choice. 1,000 times a day, you pick between heaven and hell. Does anyone do this? What can I do? Yes. Every morning. 3 conscious choices. You start by picking a thought of gratitude. Anything. This instantly makes your frequency higher. Second, pick a thought that makes you love yourself. How you like something about yourself. This brings you back to the Creator. The third step is to set an intention for the day. Internal state. Today I choose courage. Today I choose peace. All day long, you keep coming back to that intention. It's not enough for this to work, Bobby. Changes happen. The world does not have power over you. The creator of your experience is you. Now that the sun was fully out, the road was lit up in golden light. Bobby looked at it and felt its beauty for the first time since he was a child. The being said, "One last thing. God the Father is not out there. You have the Creator inside you. That which flows through you is the source of life. It is like talking to God when you connect with love, gratitude, and peace. He's been here all along. You just didn't look where you should have." Bobby felt pure reverence in his eyes. "I wasted so much time." "No," the person was told gently. "You had to take this time to get ready. You were not ready to rise until you had fallen. A necessary journey was undertaken." He took a quick look at the whiskey bottle on the ground. He was shocked to realize that he didn't want it. The strong need was no longer there. "You noticed," the being told them. "The drink, I don't want it. You drank to get away from the shadows. They don't need to run as much now that you are healing them." Bobby took the bottle, rolled down the window, and threw it away. Behind him, he heard it break on the road. "I don't need this anymore." He left the truck at the warehouse in Denver, which was his final stop. The sun was up. The engine was turned off. They sat in a quiet place that felt good. "You're leaving now," Bobby told her. It wasn't a question. "Yes. This is the end of my work here." "I don't know how to thank you," Bobby said, his voice trembling. "You saved me." "No," the person was told. "I just showed you the door." "Bobby, you looked out for yourself. When you picked to look instead of run. When you picked love over hate. That was just you. Now what do I do? Alone? Don't forget the practices. Self-love, intention, and gratitude. When the old patterns rise, simply be aware of them and choose a different thought. It'll be tough at first, but it will get better." "What about the other shadows?" "They'll show up. It takes time to heal. You know how to meet them now, though. By agreeing to. With love." "May I ask, why? Whence did this being from come all this way to help me?" The being stopped. "Because we know that we are all connected where I come from, all the way through the universe. All of us feel bad when someone is hurt. As one rises, so do all. Bobby, there isn't really a break, only the sense of it. I helped you because you asked for it, and because your soul was crying out for it. The universe answers all the time. That means it wasn't an accident. Are you going to stop for me?" There is no accident. I was just the messenger. Bobby looked at what was going on outside. There was no change in anything, but he was very different. The thing opened the truck's door. "Wait," said Bobby. "Will I see you again?" "Perhaps. I don't think you will have to, though. Now you have everything you need." "How do I know I won't fall back?" "Perhaps. Strong are old habits. You now have awareness, though. Awareness also transforms everything. You'll know when you slip up, and you can make a different choice. One last thing. About your mum." Bobby tense up. "She forgive you as soon as she died. You were the only one who never forgave you. You can now really honor her. Not by going through pain, but by living, by being pleased, by being free. That's what she would have liked." "I'll try," Bobby said under his breath. "Don't try. Do it." The being then got out and walked away. Bobby saw what seemed like an impossible figure walk between the trucks, and then it was gone. It looked like he had disappeared into the morning light. The weeks that followed were tough, but different. Bobby didn't drink juice. Whenever he felt the urge, he would stop, take a deep breath, and choose something else. He did the drills. Gratitude, self-love, and intention should be practiced every morning. It felt fake at first. He kept going, though. His world changed slowly. He took note of how food tastes. He talked to other drivers in real life. It had been 20 years since he last talked to his brother. He also did the work. He didn't run away when shadows of shame or anger came back. He stopped. He looked. He said yes. He let it go. After 3 months, Bobby Walsh was still driving the same route in Colorado. He wasn't running, though. He wasn't feeling nothing. He was there. Bob Walsh didn't feel like he was in hell for the first time in 41 years. He wasn't yet in heaven. There was still work to do, but he was going up. He saw that that was the whole point. His eyes fell on the empty passenger seat, and he said in a low voice, "Thank you." After 6 months, Bobby was sitting in a small coffee shop. Marcus, a young truck driver, was sitting at a different table. He looked tired, scared, and his hands were shaking. Bob saw himself as a kid. "Rough night?" Bobby asked softly as he sat down. They talked. Bob saw the same pain that he used to feel. "Marcus," replied Bobby, "may I say something? I was in the same place you are now 6 months ago. I was in hell. I believed I was doomed. What changed?" Marcus told him. "I learned something," Bobby said slowly. "I learned that the hell I was living in wasn't God's punishment. I had made it a prison for myself. I also learned that I could leave at any time." Marcus said, "It's not that easy." "No, it's not," Bobby agreed. "This is the hardest work I've ever done. But it's possible. You have to face the shadows you hate about yourself first." He took out a napkin and wrote 3 words on it. "Thank you. Love yourself. Meant to." "Start with this," Bobby said, moving the napkin to the other side. "That sounds silly. It does work, though. It shifts your frequency." "Why are you telling me this?" Marcus told him. Bobby took a bow. "Because someone showed me the way when I was at my lowest point 6 months ago. It's now my turn. Marcus, we're all linked. We can all rise together when one of us does." Bobby became a messenger and shared the divine light he had received. This is where our journey starts. Do you think we're all here to find our own light and then share it with others to help them rise? Leave a comment below. This is a messenger of light. Let's fill this space with the purpose we all share. We can learn a deep truth from Bobby Walsh's journey. Heaven and hell are not faraway places waiting for us. They are states of being that we are in right now because of the choices we make inside ourselves. Bobby put himself in a hell and thought he was being punished for it. But he learned that hell is where we live when we are cut off from love and don't want to face our own shadows. All of us have shadows, the parts we don't like, hide, or reject. We choose to stay in hell every time we run away, numb the pain, or hate ourselves. We can always make a different choice, though. Where are you at this very moment? In your own personal heaven or hell? What will you do today? That's the more important question. You are saved, not something that happens to you. You do it. One day, one choice, and one shadow at a time will be healed. Which part of this story made you feel the most? What shadows do you want to face and heal? Tell us what you think in the comments. If this story moved you, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get more stories that will make you realize the truth. We're all going on this trip together, out of separation and into union, from hell to heaven. We can rise together. You can show your spiritual agreement with this message of cosmic wisdom and divine healing by liking this video. This will help us reach everyone who is looking. Sign up to be a part of our community, a group of souls who want to find faith in the unknown and the divine purpose in everything they do. Share this video to give another soul who may be lost in their own hell the comfort and hope they need. Thanks for being a part of this.